Your rules are all listed. So I kind of put the same chart that's on this poster on your piece of paper. Counterclockwise is to the left. Clockwise is to the right. So most of the time you will be going counterclockwise. I would say like 99% of the time they're going to have you go counterclockwise. If it doesn't say a direction, you're going to go counterclockwise. It would literally have to say clockwise for you to go clockwise. Okay, so when in doubt, go counterclockwise, going to the left. So your rule for 90 degrees, that's moving one quadrant to the left. That's your rule. It is the same if you go 3 the opposite way to the right. 180 doesn't matter. 180 is moving 2 quadrants, so 90 and 90 spot. And then if you move 270 counterclockwise, that's moving 3 quadrants to the left, which is basically almost a full circle. That's the same as going 90 degrees clockwise. So the rules repeat themselves. So you'll have to look at this little chart and see which rule you're using because they overlap itself. Okay, let's start with number 1. Number 1 says determine the location of the triangle after a rotation of 90 degrees counterclockwise. So what is my rule for 90 degrees counterclockwise? Negative YX. It's going to be a little time consuming. There's about like 1% of you who can draw this without actually doing the coordinate points. But most of you are going to have to write out the coordinate points. It's time consuming, but just take your time and then that way you get it right. So if I go 90 degrees counterclockwise, that's moving technically 1 quadrant to the right. So I should end up from 0, 0, I'm moving 1 quadrant, not to the right, to the left, sorry. So I should end up somewhere in this quadrant because I'm moving 1 quadrant. 90 degrees is 1 quadrant. So what is A's coordinate point? Can you stop? Not 0, 7. Nope, not 7, 0. -6. Can you stop? Shut up. Jesus. -6, 7. Yeah, I know, right? For B, what's B's coordinate? Perfect. And then what's C's? Perfect. Okay. So I want you to think about this as 2 separate steps. Some of you will be able to do it in one. Most of you cannot. You will get confused. So I'm going to do it as 2 separate steps. So I'm going to flip every single coordinate point. So if I flip A, ends up as 7, -6. If I flip B, ends up as 4, -9. If I flip C, ends up as 4, -3. Now that I flipped them, I need to change one of the signs. Is it the sign in the front or is it the sign in the back? The one in the front. So since the sign in the front needs to change, I'm just going to go and change all the signs. So if it was negative, now it's positive. If it's positive, now it is negative. So all of these are positive, so they just all end up negative. Where people get confused is whenever one of the signs change and one of the signs doesn't change, and they're like, which one's changing? Blah. Okay. So now I'm just gonna plot my new points. So -7, -6. Is A prime. B prime's -4, -9. And then -4, 1, 2, 3. C prime. So if you look at the original picture, C is technically closest to 0, 0. C is still the closest to 0, 0 because it's spinning around 0, 0. B is technically the furthest from 0, 0. B should still be the furthest from 0, 0 because it's spinning around 0, 0. Yeah, how did you do that wrong? You plotted the coordinate points backwards. You know what you did? You went -7 down, and then you went over -6. And then you went over, or you went down -4, and then over -9, or like down -9. You did the coordinate points backwards. Like you plotted it backwards. You go side to side first, remember? Boop, 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 and then you go up or down. Yeah. The opposite of slope, which is why people get confused. Once you learn slope, it ends up being backwards at the coordinate point. So it's like weird. Okay, let's try number 4. So numero 4. Boop. This one, we're going to go 270 degrees counterclockwise. So if I'm going 270 degrees counterclockwise, how many quadrants technically is that moving? 3, because it's 90 plus 90 plus 90. So I'm technically still going to the left counterclockwise. I'm spinning counterclockwise, but I'm moving 3 quadrants. So I'm going to start here. 1, 2, 3. So I should end up somewhere down here.
But wouldn't it just be like
It's the same as going 90 clockwise, 3, but we're going counterclockwise. So we're going, because you start here and you go to the left like a clock backwards. No, it is not flipped. It is not a reflection. So that's why I want you to write the coordinate points, because a lot of people are just trying to flip it. So I'm taking my coordinate X and Y. How is the coordinate changing for 270 counterclockwise? Y negative X. So we're going to write the original points out. So let's start with J. 3, negative 2. Where's K? Okay, so we are going to flip the coordinate first, and then we're going to worry about the sign change. So I have to flip it, and technically the back is becoming negative. If it's negative, it's positive. So I'm going to flip it. So negative 2, 3. Negative 6, 3. Negative 6, 5. And then which values are changing their signs? The front and the back? The back. So all of the back is becoming negative. So you're flipping it, and then you're changing one of the signs. Either all the fronts change or all the backs change. If it was negative, it's positive. If it's positive, it's negative, because technically 2 negatives make a positive. So now I'm going to just plot my new points. I should end up somewhere down here because I have all double negatives, and it should move 1, 2, 3 quadrants to the left. So negative 2, negative 3. Negative 6, negative 3. Negative 6, negative 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is not the same as a reflection, because you have to think this thing is spinning around the origin. It's moving 3 quadrants from where it started. 360 would take it all the way back to the beginning. J is started the closest. J is still the closest. L is like the furthest. L is still the furthest. Let's do number 3. So you go side to side first. So you go left or right first, which in this case, we're going left because they're negative. And they're also negative down here, so you're going down. So you're going left, and then you're going down. So I went negative 2 to the left, negative 3 down. Negative 6 to the left, down 3. Yeah. Yes. So don't, just because you're switching them up, you're making a new point, and then you're plotting the new point like normal. You're trying to, like, because you reversed it, you're reversing it again. You reverse it and just plot it. Okay. Okay. So we're going to do 2 more together. Number 3, you don't have to make the graph because it doesn't give you a graph. So it says determine the new coordinates of A, B, and C if it's rotated 90 degrees counterclockwise. Notice most of these are counterclockwise. There will be clockwise ones. So just be on the lookout for clockwise. So what's my rule for 90 degrees clockwise, counterclockwise? Okay, so A was 1, 2. B was 3, negative 4. C was negative 6, negative 2. See if you can figure it out. You're going to flip it, and then the front is all changing its sign. Start by just flipping your points and then change your sign. Yeah. Arpiona, flip your points. Okay, so I flipped my points. Now which symbol needs to change? The front or the back? The front. So 2 becomes negative. What happens to 4? It becomes positive. I'm going to make it a plus sign because I'm writing in pen. You can either erase it or you can write it in pen or like, make a plus sign. This one was negative, so it becomes positive. So these are my answers. So think about it as 2 separate steps. You flip it first and then change the sign. If it was negative and you're trying to make it negative, it doesn't stay negative. 2 negatives make a positive. Let's do one more on the back. Flip to number 14. Flip to 14. So for 11, 12, 13, and 14, you need to write the rule. The rotation is already done. So if we look at 14, it's kind of confusing to look at the whole shape. So I would just pick one letter to look at. Well, we have to decide. So if I pick, somebody pick a letter on number 14. H. Okay, here's H. H prime. So I'm going to look at H and I'm only going to look at H prime. So H prime is over here. You have to figure out how many quadrants H moved to get to H prime. So how many did it move if I go to the left? 2. What about to the right? 2. So if I move 2, that's 180. Because 1 quadrant move is 90 degrees. 2 quadrant moves is 180. 3 quadrant moves would be 270. 4 would be 360. It doesn't matter for 180 if you go clockwise or counterclockwise because you're going to end up in the same spot. And that's why on your little chart, the rule is the same for clockwise and counterclockwise for 180 only, because either way, there's only 4 quadrants. So if you move 2, it's going to be.
It doesn't matter what side.
No. So let's do another one of these. Let's go to number 11. Okay, 11, we're going to look at one letter and we're going to compare it to itself. So somebody pick a letter on 11. E. So here's E. E prime went this way. How many quadrants? 90. So if I go to the right, that's 90 degrees clockwise.
You know, if it's clockwise.
It doesn't matter. But if you say counterclockwise, you're not moving 90. How much would you have to move if you went counter? 270. So you have 2 correct answers. You don't have to put both. You could say 90 degrees clockwise or 270 degrees counterclockwise, because you're going to end up in the same spot. That's why the rules overlap. So if I go to the right, I'm only moving 1 quadrant. So that's 90 degrees clockwise. If I move counter to the left, I have to move 3 quadrants, 1, 2, and 3. So you could say 270 counterclockwise or 90 degrees clockwise. That's why the rules repeat for 90 and 270 and 270 and 90, because they end up in the same spot, just going different directions. Yes. So you're going to work on the rest of these. Let me know if you get stuck. Let me know if you need help. If it gives you the coordinate points, you're writing the new coordinate points. If it gives you the graph, write the coordinate points and just plot the new picture. Bring me your phone.